Welcome everybody, this will be a very exciting video if you are already invested in NIO, but also if you maybe are on the sidelines and are looking for ways or arguments why to invest in the company, or if you're simply looking to China and saw my previous videos about the context that, well, investors should possibly not longer wait for stimulus in China and instead see where the money is flowing, then this is the video for you to watch. And in the next few minutes, I'm very excited to show you my research, what I've done and found out. And if you're also excited about this, and let me know in the comments, please, and also smash a like, help to share this video so that we can discuss it together. And by the way, there are still 43% of viewers here that are not subscribed to the channel here, and I think they are missing out because I'm posting lots of videos recently and YouTube will not necessarily show them on your front page, so make sure to subscribe. Now we have to talk about battery swapping and NIO power. I think this is a huge mega trend and topic here, and on this channel we've discussed battery swapping at length. I think there is lots of misjudgment out there regarding the potentials to battery swapping, and in my recent videos I pointed out that I'm looking for something to happen soon in terms of partnerships around battery swapping. That might be, for example, an OEM like Mercedes-Benz or Volkswagen entering the stage here, or also something else like a NIO Power IPO, or maybe some kind of a cooperation with players in the industry. Because as of today, battery swapping is oftentimes still seen negatively because of its higher upfront investment cost. And yes, we've talked all of the pros and cons about this here on the channel, but I was always looking forward to see possible business cases emerging around battery swapping, and I think I've now found a little bit more evidence that things are coming together in the way that I have imagined it. And this is why this piece of news got my attention here. Shares of virtual power plants surge after China opens the first provincial hub. The article talks about how shares of Chinese service providers for virtual power plants rose after the country opens its first provincial level center to manage cloud-based power plants that help to balance the supply of electricity. So the shares of these companies jumped as the southern city of Haikou started operating its first virtual power plant VPP hub in Hainan. And what do virtual power plants do? Well, they are not real power plants, but they do aggregate idle electricity resources from users' vehicle charging piles, energy storage devices, air conditioning equipment, and solar panel to return energy back to the grid to stabilize the power supply. According to this article, this platform will be linked to battery charging and swap stations, forming a total installed capacity of 500,000 kilowatts, close to that of a large power plant. Virtual power plant markets are expected to grow due to extreme weather conditions and tighter power supply. So the shares of these Chinese companies are jumping because this provides an opportunity for investors to get on board before this huge system of virtual power plants is possibly built out on a national level, and this was the first project to start. I began researching a little bit and found other articles that are stating that a virtual power plant boom is starting in China. So this seems to be a central effort, a national strategy here that possibly is getting traction soon. And I'm just in the very beginning of crawling down this rabbit hole here and making this earlier video about it, because I think it's very exciting about the prospects of NIO Power, because as we've seen in the article before, battery swap stations were explicitly mentioned in there. Now, what could be the role of NIO and the links to NIO regarding virtual power plants in China? Well, first of all, you need to look at who is running NIO Power as the VP of NIO Power here. That's Shen Fei, and he's got a background actually in a company called Yuan. And by the way, he's very much related to Tsinghua University, which has close collaborations usually with government and what's the latest stuff happening in China. Now, this company where a VP of NIO, Shen Fei, was working with before is really a hardcore energy network company. It's about the transmission network of the energy grid, distribution, and so on. So this has shaped the background of Shen Fei before he joined NIO, and he's possibly having also all of the industry contacts and the background for it, right? Now, if we look a little bit deeper, we can also find more hints that this is actually something that's going much in the direction of NIO Power here. First of all, this virtual power plant project announced is in Hainan. So this is kind of the Hawaii of China. It's a small island region and it's a special economic zone. So lots of special projects are happening there. Usually in China, they are tested in special regions before they are rolled out on a national level. And we can see direct links between NIO and this special economic zone. For example, the first third generation battery swap station was actually built in Hainan. And you would wonder why, because usually you would want to place it first in a very densely populated area like, for example, Shanghai or Beijing, right? But no, instead they went to Hainan Island for this. And it seems that this island has some sort of a preference for battery swapping. For example, here, Hainan to launch pilot projects to speed up the construction of battery swap stations. The city of Sanya on Hainan also offering special subsidies for battery swapped enabled models, and previous collaboration signing ceremonies between NIO and Sinopec focused on Hainan Island as well. So tell me if I'm only dreaming or not, or if I'm making this up, but to me these are very specific signs that Hainan seems to be somewhat of a pilot phase, not only for virtual power plants, but also for using battery swap stations in that and making them a very important part of a new type of an energy grid. And this also makes sense because here, for example, with this third generation battery swap station, NIO also introduced a self-developed HPC bidirectional high power liquid cooled power module. That means this enables the batteries which are sitting in this new battery swap station to unload and feed energy into the grid, but also take energy out of the grid and therefore balancing the grid. So this is NIO's self-developed module here that is essentially telling me NIO wants to enable this business case. And this is why I'm finding this so exciting. I think there is not any alternative out there that I could think of for investing in such kind of a use case. And in my point of view, like just how I'm reading things, this is really looking like China really wants to pull this off because it makes so much sense to them. They have huge load imbalances in the grid, but they have also large demand for EVs, but also for air conditioning, for example. And here's NIO starting to build out an infrastructure that they fully own itself, much in difference to many of the other EV players which are not building their infrastructure, let alone battery swap stations. And do not forget that it's NIO's moat that they have separated the vehicle body from the battery. So yes, for virtual power plants, also chargers will play a role, but only NIO or only battery swap enabled vehicles will actually be the ones that also provide the power into the grid, enabling a much better arbitrage model of trading electricity prices. Because if you are just a vehicle owner and you cannot swap out the battery and you own the battery, then for a couple of cents of benefits, you don't want to get your battery degraded. So this virtual power plant business case really only applies to NIO and battery swap stations. This is NIO's moat. This might be what we have ultimately been looking for in order to make battery swapping become a profit center for NIO ultimately. I mean, this seems to be pilot project early stages stuff, but I think the hints that I just gave there really looks like this is coming together in the way that I have, been fantasticizing it. So no, this is kind of still early stages in my research, but I got really excited about it when I started reading it. And so I thought I'd rather bring this out here in order to start a discussion here and open also the opportunity aligned with it, because I think, having some exposure to NIO really helps one to participate in this potential multi-billion, maybe trillion USD total accessible market in the future. I think, of course, we need more facts for it, and I'm hoping that NIO could share some with us in future presentations. But I know it seems to me that this is really what will ultimately make the business case for battery swap stations, and that could also be a really good basis for some sort of new corporations to be established, or let's say a spin out, an IPO, or maybe some other ways of how this can be monetized and scaled in a much bigger way, maybe with additional funding. So I think this is potentially very, very exciting. This is one intrinsic value to NIO that I think is, as of today, not really priced in by investors. And so yeah, I hope you liked this video. Let me know down in the comments what you think about it. Smash a like, share it, and then see you in my next video.